scan, and I guess I don't have to keep going forward. But I'll then look at a change. So all those houses were kind of similar. I mean, some were brick and some, but they were all small, similar styles. And then I'll look at, again, going from low to high, and all of a sudden I'll see one that maybe is, you know, a newer split level. It's like, wow, that's a lot different than the other ones. This looks like a much more expensive house. So that could be also an opportunity there, because that might be the lowest price home in maybe that particular neighborhood, or that particular style home, or that particular size of home. So that still might be a clue that there could be an opportunity there. So I look at it, I search it that way, but then I also do this a lot, is I'll go and I'll look at as a map. Some people don't even know that this is an option. So this will draw up the map, and this will have all the price homes on the map. So then I look at a particular neighborhood, and what's the least amount? Let's go, I guess we'll go into, let's see, we'll do where I'm doing a flip here. Well, the one we just got, we got a contract, I'll look at that neighborhood. So let's say, just one point, right? Hang on, there we go, okay. Whoops, it went too far. My finger, I went a little too far. So let's just say this pocket right here. This is not necessarily going to be a good example of an opportunity, but I think it'll show my point. All right, and I've got a slide on neighborhoods. So when you look at people about doing comps, people will say, well, do you look at 1 mile out, half a mile? Distance is kind of irrelevant, or is not as relevant, I should say, as neighborhood. Because look, from here to here might only be a block away, but this could be a different school district. Normally you don't want to cross any major streets, no railroads, okay, no school district cross, no park district change. You want to keep it all similar in that area. So if this right here is all the same school district, then this is the one, this is the area that we want to look at, right? This is Kedzie. Kedzie is not a huge busy street at this point, but if I can avoid crossing Kedzie, this is unknown. This could be a little bit different neighborhood. You're crossing, this is 99th, but if we went the other way, you see we're crossing 95th. Try not to cross 95th. Sometimes you have to, because the neighborhood's so small, you only have a very small sample size, and you may have to look at a bigger picture. But whenever possible in your comps, you want to stay. See how this is a really nice defined neighborhood? If you're finding comps in this neighborhood, you're pretty safe that, okay, this one sold for 400 or 300,000. If I do the same fix up to my house in that exact area, I'm going to probably get 300,000, right? Okay, so these are not looking as comp sold, but I do the same thing when it comes to solds. Let's just see if I can convert this a little bit.
Because they had a recently sold tab on that site too.
Yes, you can do it for recently sold, yep, exactly. You can do the same thing. Instead of going for buy properties, you can go recently sold, all right? So where you go sell, you can see that. Now, so these are, look at this, just want to throw out some numbers to you. So we got 215, 84, 174, 229, 239, 198, 209, 85, 144, 244, all right? Now, there's a lot of variables here, but what do you think could be, where do you think I'd start clicking on to start researching?
84.
Is it Hannah?
Yeah, 84.
All right, so she liked the 84, all right? There's 84, there's 85, or, yeah, 84 was right up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, the closest one, that's a 215. And again, then I'll look at the solds and see what is sold. Well, look, sold, you know, 200, 200, 200, 200, 200. Again, this property might be a knockdown, tear down, and it might not be worth anything, but at least it's a possibility. I'm looking at, well, wow, if some houses in that same neighborhood sold for 200,000, and this one's on the market for 84, there could be a possibility, right? So that's how I look at it visually. And again, I do the same thing when I do the comps. Now I'll also go with, and this site I thought used to be really bad. Now I think it's getting better because I can show you how to do comps on it as well. How are we doing on time?
11:22.
Okay.
22.
I want to make sure there's so much stuff to go through. I don't know how deep I can go on any one thing. Okay, so as far as looking at properties on the MLS, again, this is a possibility. More than likely, too, these really low priced houses are going to need a lot of work, right? So I think that's good opportunities. And then also when you go to Zillow, I'll call up Zillow and I'll just see, it's not so much that I agree with the Zillow's prices, though like I said, I think they're getting actually much better. In some homes, you can choose your own comps on Zillow. And there's no rhyme or reason which homes you can do it, which homes you can't. It's about maybe 40% of the homes on Zillow, you can pick your own comps. And if we have time, I'll show you how to do that. So, in this case then, where was I going with that? Oh, I'll call up Zillow because it'll give prices for each one of these property values, what they estimated. And again, it's not so much that I'm banking on that number, but it will reinforce if these all say, you know, if this says like 80 and these says 200, 200, 200, 200. And it's not that I'm agreeing necessarily with the 200, but I see a difference. Zillow sees a difference between these houses and this house. Okay, so that kind of reinforces to me there could be an opportunity here. If I went on Zillow and all of a sudden those houses were just as low as this house and there was no separation really in the value, even though I might not agree on exact amount, I do give some validity to Zillow being able to distinguish between a valuable home and an invaluable, a less valuable home in the same neighborhood. So I do that just for kind of a check. You know, so I'll check again, Trillia.com just to see if that's the area I want to be, because that will give me the crime report. And then I'll go on Realtor.com to find properties that are listed. We already talked about finding properties that were not listed, right? And then when I figure out, in order to evaluate this, I have to evaluate the ARV, I have to evaluate the rehab costs, okay? So one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this one just to see what we're looking at here. Hey, I've been in this house. I've looked at this house. I can tell you all about this house. Pictures are deceiving, let me tell you that. Okay? I didn't put an offer on it, let me just tell you, pictures are deceiving, all right? So, and it's not so much in bad shape. I love bad shape houses. That's what I make money on. It's a matter of, can we get another bedroom in here? It's only a 2-bedroom. Is there any way we can make a 3? Is there any way we can expand? Is there any way we can put a dormer on? Is there any way we can do this? And the answers to most of those were no, 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 no. So I walked away from this. But anyway, I know this exact house. There is like a little park and stuff right here, and the school is over there, but you can't get direct access to the school. So anyway, here's the house. And then so what I do is I look at the house and I look for opportunities. Again, if there are, I think there's internal pictures here. Okay, yeah, there are some internal pictures. So from here, what do you see right away jump out? Radiator and hardwood floors. Look for those, hardwood floors, because you can finish those. It's not that expensive, and it'll be what we call one of the 7 wow factors, where you want to walk in and say, wow, look at these hardwood floors, okay? So with the radiator, what's the challenge with the radiator?
Heating and ventilation.
Okay, people love that have them, love radiator heat, okay? Because it's not like a dry heat, it's a warm heat in the winter. They love it, but what's the negative? No?
How well it heats the house.
Well, your central air's not hooked up.
There's
with
no
that.
central air then hooked up to it, all right? Rarely do you have that. Usually when you see in here, you can make an assumption 99% of the time, it doesn't have central air. And again, I want to do like a new home type a product out there. So if someone's going to spend top dollar in a neighborhood, are they going to expect air conditioning? It's like, what, now we got to put a window? We're spending $300,000 and we got to put a window air unit in each one of these? No. Convert it, the one we did in Evergreen Park, we converted all to central air. So right, so that's one thing. So right away, you can kind of, on your rehab, which I'll show you a little rehab form, you'd be surprised, you can get pretty close on your rehab cost. I've gone and looked at pictures and come up with a rehab budget, then I've gone and looked the property, I've had contractors in there, and I can compare what I had looking at pictures and what I had in reality. A lot of times they're very, very close. So this is a way you can do a good research. All right, got to redo the hardwood floors. You know, kitchens, we're usually gutting those out anyway. I'm usually knocking out a wall. And again, that was deceptive because that kitchen was tiny. They actually had tiles on the ceiling over that area where the little dining room area is. It was very close, very small anyway. And then they had ceiling tiles on it. It was like you see maybe in a bathroom shower, you know, on the top.
Oh,
So anyway, it was very crazy.
maybe it was a
Like
multi-purpose
ceramic tile or?
room.
Yeah. What's that?
Like ceramic tile or?
No,
okay,
like the
just
plastic
like the
or-
decorative type, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, there's the basement, there's the boiler that we talked about. they got a sump pump in there, yeah.
Some mold.
Mold is usually a good thing. Why is mold a good thing?
Cause it's not that hard to get rid of and
Right.
it scares other buyers off.
Right.
Scares other buyers, not that hard to get rid of, okay? There's a saying with investor, mold is gold. So you can make a big deal out of, oh man, that old basement had mold in it. The one we just bought and closed on, or one we just got the offer accepted, that one in Evergreen Park, remember the basement of that one has all mold, the one that's on 96th Street. It's got mold in the basement, almost all that's, covered with mold and it's gonna have to take out. People think drywalling is really expensive, it's not expensive compared to other type of repairs. So drywall and patch is really, it'll scare a lot of people away that aren't experienced, and that's
Which
where
is
the
awesome.
opportunity is. Yeah. So, anyway, so you go, you drill down, you look at this, you look at the pictures, and then what you wanna do is you wanna put those numbers on a spreadsheet. Let me see, I think I got one pulled up here. Okay, so I do mine on a spreadsheet. I do two things. One, and if you email me, I will send you a copy of this. I should copyright this stuff, I'm giving a lot of it away. I'm going to put, I'll send you the spreadsheet that I use when I walk through a property. Sometimes I get lazy, but I try not to, just so I see so many properties. I try to do a spreadsheet on each one of them. And I train people on trying to get in and out, something like this, where I print it out. And then I write down everything, all of my different notes on it. And no matter how many properties I've been through and done and looked at, and try to do it systematically, if I don't have this in front of me, I'm gonna forget something. I'm gonna walk out of that property, I'm like, I didn't look at the electrical box. Did you see the electrical? I didn't look, I forgot. So this has basically everything listed, so you can just check off. And then what I usually do is I usually either write okay on it, to make sure that I know that I looked at it, or instead of saying bad or whatever, a lot of times I'll put the price. Okay, we're gonna need to replace that, that's $2,000. We're gonna have to replace that, that's $2,000, that's $1,000, that's whatever. So then when I'm out of there, I actually have the numbers just to add up, okay? So this, let me enlarge this a little bit so you can see some of the things here. Okay, so I usually put at the top the asking price, and the other thing is when you're searching, people bring you properties or they think it's an opportunity. I've done this, a modification on a spreadsheet. I probably won't share this with you. This is really something I should definitely patent. This is a spreadsheet that calculates, so our minimum profit we do in our deals are $30,000. Yours could be something else, okay? Minimum is $30,000 or 15% of the ARV, whichever's higher. So think about that logically. So if we're selling it for $300,000, we gotta make 15% of that, which would be $45,000, okay? If it's, let's say the project all in, or it's gonna resell for 100, okay, 15% of 15,000, you can say, oh, you do it for 15,000. No, you gotta have that minimum really of 30,000. Now the two we get, sometimes I make exceptions, the two we just put offers in Evergreen Park and got accepted, we're actually going with 25,000. So we're a little short of our minimum profit usually on there, but we got two, they were the same buyers, we wanted to be aggressive, we needed properties right away, and I didn't have you guys trained yet to find properties, so we needed to take them. So anyway, so we've got roof, and then what you want to do is, I've got my contractors, and I want to do this as not only for me finding properties, but if you want to be a real estate investor on your own, this is stuff you got to learn. Once you start working with contractors, find out how much. They never want to really tell you the price, but just tell them, listen, I'm just looking for a ballpark figure. When I go through and the house needs a new roof, and it's a 1,300 square foot home, and it's a ranch, about how much am I gonna pay for a new roof? Okay, just give me a ballpark so I can use it, then you can put that in your spreadsheet. So if that's gonna charge $5,000, you put $5,000 on there. And you know that number, so then when you walk through and you look up, needs a new roof, 5,000. Now some people add by squares, because that's usually how the job is gonna actually be estimated out. I 10 by 10 square, how many squares, and how much they charge by the square. You can get that technical, but I like to just do the first time through. Here's where you're gonna get in trouble. If you spend an hour, let's say we just looked at this property, that one I just showed you pictures of, we were probably in and out of that property in no more than 15 to 20 minutes, okay? That should take you that long to determine, is it even a possibility? okay? We went in there, we looked at, no, we can't put another bedroom, there's no way to do this, the dormer, that's not gonna work, this, and this. We could determine that it's a no deal, all right? If we went through there and, yeah, then we could put a third bedroom there, or there's a possibility, then again, I'm writing all those numbers down. Now I'm gonna take those and I'm gonna plug them into the next spreadsheet I'll show you to see whether or not it's a deal. If it's a deal and it's a ballpark, then I'm gonna make an offer based on a little bit more cushion, because we might go in there and find out there's more stuff. So let's say I analyzed it and it was a deal at $150,000. Well, maybe I'll go as high as $140,000 will be what I'm comfortable with. And then if it gets accepted, or sometimes if they counter offer, I wanna go in there and do a real detailed walkthrough. Sometimes I'll have a contractor with me, have somebody else with me, a partner with me, and we'll try to really nail down that rehab cost. And I'll double check on what I established as the ARV, and then now that final negotiation, we'll be able to make that negotiation on more detailed information, all right? So the one in Evergreen Park, I went through, Dave was the broker on that, so he let me in there, we both went through the property. I came up with a rehab cost, I've got a budget for it right now in my mind. We made them an offer, they countered, I went up just a little bit more, like about $1,500 more or so on both properties. So I went up, and then they accepted it. So now we've got our inspection period, right? So now is where, on Sunday, I'm gonna go through with my contractor at 3 o'clock, and we're gonna go through there in detail and do a scope of work. I think you're gonna be there too, Pete, aren't you? Or
Yep.
no? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna go through it with the scope of work and really nail down this number, okay? Because I've got 5 days to change my mind here and say, listen, we inspected it, I didn't know that the floor joists were sagging, we're gonna have to do this, this, and this. I'm either we're gonna have to lower the price by $2,000, or I can't do the deal. I've never really had to do that, because I've really been that close on it. So, if we look at it, it's pretty much no surprises, it's pretty much what we thought. We'll go through with the price, we might make a little bit more or a little bit less than that $25,000 that we accepted as profit on this deal, but I'll feel much better about it. And then remember I told you about how to raise capital and that equity partnership model, and how to have a true partnership. The people that put up the money have to have a say in the major decisions. So guess what? They're invited to come through to the walkthrough if they want to look at it too. So they're invited. Send them out an email. Here's what we're going to do. You know, give me a vote. If you can't make it, vote yes or no whether or not you want to go through with the deal, right? So if they say no, I'll just use another entity to do it. They'll be fine, or raise some more money to do it. We'll do it outside of those entities, but those partners have never said no before, and one of them did say, we trust you, do whatever you want. They gave me a yes without even seeing it. But you need to cover your bases that way, because I don't want it ever to be under the laws and penalties of me doing a securities. So if they don't have any say in the major decisions, they're like, no, they're investors. You created an investment vehicle here without a securities license and without going through securities regulations. So it's a partnership. In a partnership, they need to have a say. So they'll have a say during this inspection period. They can come and see it if they want. You know, I told them if they wanted to see it, Dave, that we'd probably get them in another, you know, that we'd have to get them in the next couple days. So anyway, so that's the process. And I go through this and put down the dollar amounts. Garage, landscaping, and again, I'll send you a copy of this, and I just put in those numbers. And then the numbers to the left are kind of like numbers where, well, if you gotta do the whole thing, this is how much it's gonna cost. Needs a whole roof, this is how much it's gonna cost. So I just do these as samples, and then once I get down to this number, so here's the number we had on a deal that we just did. I think I changed the numbers a little bit on the other page just to protect the innocent. And I didn't want to give out the actual true numbers, but let's say I came up 63,400 is what I have as a rehab cost. Then I plug that number into this spreadsheet. Okay, so this one, Sample Street, Chicago, 1,800 square foot, 3-bedroom, 1.5 baths, or 2.5 baths. You'll see 2.1 is a half bath. The reason they do that is because if you do it 2.5 as 2.5 baths, what happens if there's 2 full baths and 2 half baths? If you put 3.0, that's not accurate. It doesn't have 3 full baths. So you'll see that, brokers will use that, you'll see that, and sometimes I do 0.5. If somebody doesn't really have experience, I might send them something that has 2.5, but really, they'll do it as 2.1. Anybody that knows real estate, they'll know that, oh, that's 2 full baths and 1 half bath. 2.2 is 2 full baths, 2 half baths, okay? So we've got that there. So we've got the asking price, let's say if the asking price was 150, if we have an ARV at 300,000, the acquisition price, what I do is I plug in that budget number, and then I have to put in the holding costs. People asked about this, what do you use for holding costs? So taxes, if I just want to do a quick, see if it's even worth sending an offer to, I might estimate the taxes. But I normally go to the county website. People make this mistake. They look to see what's on the MLS. That could be outdated tax information. Also, more than likely, if it's maybe a foreclosure, the taxes before had exemptions on it. They had a homeowner's exemption, and they may have a senior citizen's exemption. You lose that as a real estate investor. You're not living in the property, and you're not qualified then for a senior citizen's exemption. So that could be a difference of $2,000 or more on your taxes. In some cases, $3,000 a year on your taxes. So your holding cost has to be 6 months, or let's say, and again, is 6 months, is that perfect? No, it's gonna depend on how much rehab needs to be done. A lot of rehab, you might be looking at holding costs for 9 months. It might take you 6 months to rehab it, and a couple months to put it on the market and to sell it. So you might wanna do 9 months of taxes. I normally do 6 months of taxes. It's easy to calculate just doing the half of the full year taxes. But again, go onto the county websites, if this is a different training we could do, is all about getting the tax exemptions and adding those back to them, because you're not gonna get those anymore. So insurance, a vacant property is higher insurance rates than occupied property. So you have to calculate your insurance rate. It might be like $150 a month. Could be what you pay for insurance. Could be $175 a month times 6 months. And then utilities. So what do you have for utility costs? You have gas, you have electric, you have water. Usually water, sewer, and garbage is all in one bill. So you've got to add that in. Closing costs. People look at my closing costs and they say, you're crazy, you can't do that. Well, the reason I put only $4,000, and some people put, percentages, 3% of the purchase price for a closing cost. I do it much less expensive. I normally am paying about $1,500 when I buy, and about $2,500 when I sell. That's a competitive advantage. I've done so many of these, and I don't recommend this unless you've done 100 deals. You should use an attorney on all your closes. I don't. Okay, a lot of times I catch the attorney mistakes that they made, and I'm paying them for me to find their mistakes. It just was frustrating. So I don't, but as a disclaimer, I recommend everybody do. When you do 100 deals, if you think, then I think maybe that's a good idea. But I save money there. Okay, so the one that we're closing right now on Crestwood, where we bought it, and 17 days later we're reselling it for a profit, not doing any work to it at all. That one, I bought it, and we paid, right about $1,500 on the buy side. On the sale side, I'm actually only paying about, I think we're paying about $1,500 on the sale side, and that includes. That even includes the tax prorations held in it for those 17 days. So it increases our profit that way. But again, if you don't know what you're doing, but I have to prepare the deed, just like an attorney. I have to prepare the deed, I have to prepare the alt statement, I got to prepare the tax preparation. So there's like 4 things. It's not like free, okay? My investors are benefiting from them because they're not paying an attorney. I'm doing it basically for free, so I'm making a little bit more on it. Yeah.
They have those templates in the education, though, right?
What I would use is go to the title company that you're closing with, and they normally have templates. The title company. Yeah, because they may want a specific format for it. Yeah, but good question. And they probably are. They might be in the back office as well. But I would go, since that stuff is nationwide, specific Illinois and Cook County, you'd want to use whatever the title company wants you to. But I have a relationship with the title company and the manager. The first couple, he had to coach me a little on, because I was like, oh wait, I have to do that statement because there's also a bill of sale. So there's like 4 documents I have to prepare for closing. The first one I was a little unprepared. I had a few done, and can you help me with this one really quick? I'm like doing it right at the closing. And then the next one I did, the attorney was like, oh my gosh, that's the smoothest closing we've ever had. This is great, or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I finally did it right. The second time I was able to do it right. So anyway, I'm just explaining why this is only $4,000. If you're doing your own deals, You don't have that relationship like I do, you might wanna do a percent. Normally, you'd probably pay something like, cause your attorney fee alone, people say, how can you close with 1,500? Because the attorney fee alone on the buy side is probably gonna be at least $400. Chances are as much as $600, $700 could be just the attorney fee alone. All right, and then on the sales side, again, the attorney fee, and the other thing is, since I'm acting as the closing or the escrow agent and not an attorney, I'm getting my title policies there with my company, title company I use, for $500. And they're normally at least $1,700. So the reason they're able to do that is normally, and I didn't know this is something I already tell you, can be in real estate a long time, learn something in the study group. Well, when I brought in that title company, and I tried to do the next one, I said, hey, can we do this next one? Can you still give me that $500 title insurance policy? He goes, are you, as an attorney, part of the deal? I said, well, I wasn't gonna bring an attorney in, but one of the other previous partners already brought him in, so yeah. He goes, well, I can't do it, because the attorney's gonna want that $1,200. What I didn't know is when you pay an attorney, when you're closing on a property, you're selling the property, and you look at the attorney fee is $400, you think, oh, that's not bad, I'm paying $400. Well, if you could act as the escrow agent like I do, they're actually, the attorney is being paid like $1,200 of the $1,700 title insurance policy to prepare those deeds. And like, I'm preparing these 4 deeds and I'm paying the attorney $1,200. So it's you know, something I thought, you know what, I can save my investors some money, and I tell them, do you want me to do that? Because I don't want them to feel like they're in more risk because we don't have an attorney in the room. Keep in mind, if the attorney's in the room and there's a problem, you still might have to sue your attorney to correct it, right? And you'd be like, oh, I got an attorney, I'm all taken care of. Well, you know, it provides certainly some comfort there, I get that, but just keep in mind, just it's not like a warm blanket that, oh, I got an attorney. I'm hearing people right now that are suing their attorneys in transactions. Because the attorney might have done it wrong, and they're saying, no, I didn't do it wrong, this is your fault, you know what I mean? So it's not like an automatic. But I do recommend, and I think one of the reasons why I was so quick to say, yeah, maybe I'll do it on my own, is I did my first real estate transactions in Michigan. Nobody used attorneys in Michigan. They all used the title companies. Think about the title company is the referee. I mean, the title company is what's there making sure all the numbers are right, double checking, making sure everyone's satisfied and it's all done fair. You bring the money in and they're the escrow company doing this. You're getting a title insurance policy. So my first maybe 10 real estate deals didn't involve an attorney. So it kind of, that's how I started. So when we came to Illinois, like, oh, you need an attorney. I do? You know, what for? Well, doesn't the title company do that? Don't you prepare that? So again, I think I've made my point. Use an attorney in your first few at least, and find out maybe there's some other benefits that.
Couldn't we just hire you?
I thought of that, but I think that's probably a violation, just like a broker, you know, a broker can't do, you know, you can't do what a broker is licensed to do. It's probably the same thing. I could probably get myself in trouble. I thought about that though. I can prepare, I might be able to be a document preparer, and I might be able to prepare your documents for a lot less than $1,200, but.
What's the
Anyway,
percentage?
I thought of that, Mike, I thought of that.
Or just come and help us and pay on the side.
So, yeah.
That's only on the sell side, right?
Yes, that's on the sales side. And the buy side, it's not very expensive anyway.
It's, yeah.
But you're not, you know, if the attorney's charging you $400, there's no really hidden cost in that. $1,200 is $1,200, or, I'm sorry, you know, $400 is $400, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, there's not really, but where the hidden cost, and again, I've been doing real estate a lot, and then didn't really know it until I had a relationship with the title company and found out what's going on the other end, and that they're actually getting paid.
Mm.
Can you
Do
give
it
us the percentage for the closing costs?
Okay, so with closing costs, yeah, I mean, and the problem with percent is it's not proportional. If you have a $500,000 property that you're selling for, it's not gonna be 3%. You're not gonna pay $1,500, that'd be $15,000. But then again, on the low end, the reason again why I don't like using percent, I go on the low end, and if a property's, you know, I'm paying $80,000 for the property, and maybe I'm selling at $150,000, again, 3% might not be enough to cover it. You know, so it's kind of proportional. At a lower price for home, I would say 3% is fine, maybe anything under, you know, 200,000 range. If it goes above that, you're probably looking more about 2.5% to 3%. The higher it goes, the lower the percent, because it doesn't take $15,000 to close on a house that they have. So I prefer to get like real costs. And so even like the 1,500 to buy, for an example, we'll go 1,500 and then say, plus I'm gonna add an attorney fee, so maybe it's to close, to buy is maybe 2,000. But on the close side, where you get is the title insurance becomes very expensive. The $1,700 price, that's like on the low end for title insurance. You could be paying $4,000 for title insurance on a big, you know, $80,000 or $800,000 home. So you gotta kind of look at that. And title companies, if you go and you contact them, or if you work with me, I'll give you like a breakdown of what their price points are, so you can kind of put in actual numbers. So to me, I'm just afraid of, and if you have that number too, it's good to be conservative and put a little cushion, but if you put too much cushion, you won't do any deals, because nothing will work out. You'll be like, wait a minute, I can't do that deal, can't do that one, that one, because maybe because you got 3% for closing costs, and it's not gonna cost you 3%, okay? And you're eliminating deals that aren't there. So if you work with me, or go through the education, you'll get a lot of stuff on that. Okay, so, commission, again, if I have a relationship with a broker, and I promise to listen, if you bring me the property, you analyze it, you did the rehab, because I had a broker that's done this, they've done all that work up front, then they bring it to me, not just, oh, I got this listing, you wanna go see it, that's entirely different setup. If I have a broker that's trained in estimating the rehab cost, and they have physically gone to look at the property, given me a breakdown of the scope of work and an estimated rehab cost, to them, it's worth it for me to have a relationship to, I'll do the purchase through you, and I'll do the sale through you. So you'll get the commission on that side. To just send me a property, I've got a lot of people, they'll just put in, brokers will put in the system, oh, you're looking at Downers Grove for under 200,000, 3 bedrooms, at least 3 bedrooms, at least 2 baths. You know, every couple days I'm getting a new thing, and they haven't done any research, it's just showing me what's new on the market, That doesn't do me any good, I gotta do all the work. Doesn't mean that I won't eventually buy one of those properties, but if I do, I'm not using you to sell it. You know, you're lucky to get the commission on the buy side, because I did all the research, right? Especially because I'm gonna do it over and over again. So the reason I put 2.5 is only if I'm gonna know that I'm gonna do a flat fee listing. So if I'm only gonna pay $375 to get it on the market, and then gonna pay 2.5% to the buyer broker, who's bringing me the deal, bringing me the buyer, then that would be 2.5%. And that can make a difference between a deal and a no deal. Like, oh, why don't you just pay the buyer, you know, more money, or, but it's like, not only is it money out of my pocket, but I might not even be able to do the deal. Might not even be, or we do the deal and the investors aren't happy because they didn't make quite enough money, and guess what? The investors pull out, that we're not gonna do another deal with those private money lenders because they didn't make enough on it. Or an equity partner, their split wasn't, you know, weren't happy with the split, so now it's harder to do another deal. So when everybody gets greedy is when things fall apart. I've had this before where I've done flips to like this fund that was buying rental property, and everybody wanted their piece, everyone wanted their piece. Well, the people that bring in the money, they gotta get their piece. If they don't get that, it's like, if mama's happy, if mama's not happy, no one's happy. If the investor's not happy, no one's happy, because everything falls apart. No longer do we use the contractor, you don't have a job anymore. Brokers, no longer do we have deals, so we're not putting deals through you. Me as the service provider, no longer am I working with those investors, so I don't have as many deals. So everybody's gotta look out. Obviously, they can't do this stuff for free, but again, you've gotta make sure that people bringing the money to the deal are happy, they're making the money, then you'll have longevity and you'll be able to do a lot of deals. Okay.